Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Chairman of the Forum, all the CEOs of various super funds in the Pacific, and all the other distinguished guests here today. Firstly, on behalf of the people of Papua New Guinea and the government of Papua New Guinea, I warmly welcome our Pacific Island visitors to Papua New Guinea on this occasion of the 7th South Pacific Provident Fund and Social Security CEO Forum. I wish that you all had a pleasant stay so far in Port Moresby. I also want to take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to our own NASFUND for hosting this significant conference marking the superannuation industry throughout the Pacific. I trust that your exchanges and your country presentations on behalf of your respective funds will be very frank and informative. I understand from your conference objectives is largely to foster some close relationship with the Provident funds in the Pacific, the social security organizations throughout the Pacific, to increase the capacity of member organizations to provide sound financial management by sharing of information, experiences, and management practices. I also understand that your discussions will also contribute to issues of sound economic climate in the Pacific region, to enable member organizations to effectively discharge the obligations for members and contributors, and to contribute to the development of many of our small nations in the Pacific. I also believe that this forum will give you an opportunity to discuss many issues concerning various funds management, promotion of social security within the region, establishing and advertising the objectives of various funds, as I stated. I noticed that this year's theme is lifting of the fund performance in order to build a stronger Pacific community. This is very relevant in the current climate, ensuring that we develop stronger ties within various provident funds within the region so that our region can prosper effectively. I understand also that one of the main objectives for us to work closely together with governments within the Pacific region. And in PNG, we have a very close relationship with the superannuation industry. That just largely goes to the many successes the industry has achieved in our country. Provident funds, by nature, as we all know, are largely to mobilize domestic savings for many of our citizens. They also contribute significantly to the development aspirations of any country. For Papua New Guinea, at least the performance of the Provident funds in the years prior to 2002 has been challenged by many governance issues, political interferences, and poor investment decisions, which contributed to largely a decline in client services. Legislative reforms to the industry in 2002 have seen a very dramatic turnaround in the performance of the superannuation industry in the country. For almost 9 years now, PNG's largest super funds have been high achievers in the financial sector of our country. Particularly NASFUND and Number One Super, returns to contributors have almost very much every year in double digits, higher than the inflation rate in the country, and that is quite remarkable. The superannuation industry in Papua New Guinea has grown from strength to strength. It is estimated now it's worth over close to 6 billion kina today, and will grow over 10 billion kina in the next 5 years. NASFUND and Number One Super represent about 87% of the total assets in the industry, covering both the private and the public sector of employees. I understand NASFUND has got about 141,000 contributing members now, further 182,000 that are currently inactive, and Number One Super has got over 100,000 contributors in their fund. We also have a smaller fund called the Defence Force Retirement Benefit Fund, largely for our armed members of the armed forces. It also continues to, although smaller in size, understand the assets below 300 million kina, but yearly contributes reports a substantial surplus year in, year out. Again, representing a very sound financial management of that fund. It is my government's desire to continue supporting the industry. We have demonstrated that by ensuring that the payments over the last few years owed to particularly the Number One Super has been met on a timely basis. Apart from hundreds of millions of kina we have allocated through the budget appropriations in the past, only last week again government has presented over 93 million kina to meet its obligations that were neglected in the past years. The government's ability to meet its obligations is boosted by the performance of our economy over the last 7 years. Key indicators in the economy are look very good. Our GDP continues to expand. Our foreign reserves have virtually doubled to over close to over 9 billion kina. Our interest rates have been largely stable over the past few years. Our exchange rates continue to appreciate against all major currencies. Our employment continues to grow steadily. Our debt levels are well below 25% of GDP, and our inflation continues to remain a challenge but steady in the foreseeable future. We have in the country now currently have got 2 large projects that are the 2 LNG projects that have been developed, which will again bring substantial revenue to the country, and again will ensure that the government continues to meet its obligations to particularly the superannuation industry. It is our duty as government to ensure that we do not squander these opportunities. We are establishing a sovereign wealth fund to manage the windfalls from this development of these large projects. Again, I said the 2 LNG projects are not the only ones being developed in the country. We have fairly few world-class mining developments also happening in the country as well. I'm sure you will see the LNG project when you visit our site over this week. I'm pleased to note the involvement and partnership of many of our organizations here, particularly Number One Super and NASFUND. I'm also pleased to note the active involvement of these 2 organizations in developing our relationship with many of the other Pacific Island communities, particularly making significant investments in Honiara and Fiji, and continue to provide some support in terms of exchanging of ideas with the other superannuation industries in the Pacific. Just worthy of mention, a few investments that I understand NASFUND has carried out. PNG owned Lamana Developments and as a joint venture partnership with, I understand, with the Solomon Islands National Provident Fund in developing a heritage hotel, our newest luxury hotel in Honiara, I understand. Also, Number One NASFUND and Lamana Development also partner in developing a Grand Pacific International Hotel in Fiji. I understand that was launched a few weeks back. I'm also pleased to note that the Solomon Islands National Provident Fund has a substantial shareholding in our largest bank in the Pacific, Bank of South Pacific. I'm also pleased to note other areas of NASFUND PNG's contribution and cooperation in the Pacific, particularly with our neighboring organizations. The Fiji National Provident Fund, I understand, has sent a delegation here to see and review the operational reforms carried out in IT and client services and marketing areas. And Solomon Islands and NASFUND has set in its investment manager to review its property and facilities management. Cook Islands, I understand, is seeking external advice on enhancing its IT capabilities. Again, Vanuatu is sending a delegation to Solomon Islands, PNG, and Fiji to gather information on how they can manage their portfolio and other developments. With a shift of focus away from developed markets of Australia and New Zealand and Europe, most of whom are still recovering from the global financial crisis, the relationships that have been established between the various funds within the Pacific in assisting each other and finding answers to common problems is worthy of noting. Some areas in investments and service delivery, benefits to your contributors on governance issues and funds administration, IT and technology. These are common problems across the region. So I believe that your conference today and your forum today will enlighten you further on many of these issues. I believe that you will be presented with a wonderful opportunity to discuss this amongst yourself in the next few days. I am again sure that your host, NASFUND, will make sure that you thoroughly enjoy your time here in Port Moresby. I invite you to visit other parts of Papua New Guinea to see the lovely country we have, sometimes not as beautiful as many of your country in the region, but I trust you will enjoy your stay here. And I wish you all the success in your discussions. Thank you.